Hey everybody, my name is Adam, aka Dr. Taco 1982, and I am coming to talk to you guys today about WWE Fastlane. It's an event that happened a couple nights ago, and I just kind of want to give some feedback, reaction on, what I thought of the pay-per-view, how it was overall, the information released, the matches, kind of just give a breakdown of what I thought of it to share with you. The first one I want to talk about is the Ziggler-Rowan-Ryback match versus Big Show, Rollins, and Kane. This is kind of a series of matches I'm kind of getting bored of. I understand the whole, they're back, they're facing the Authority, they're the good guys versus the bad guys, they fought for their job back, so now they really want to, accomplish and stick it to the man. I get it. I understand what they're trying to do, and I understand, what they're trying to set up. I get it. I'm just getting a little bored with it. But I was hoping that the match was really going to exceed that set expectation of the same thing over and over and over again. Ziggler and Rollins started the match. I was really excited for that because both of them are very high impact, high energy guys, really want to get out there, nail it to the other guy, high flying, high impact, boom. It was kind of boring. It was pretty slow. They didn't really do anything. They tagged out pretty quick. Ziggler ended up tagging in Eric Rowan pretty quick, and he went on to take on Rollins. He's a bruiser. Nothing really super interesting happened. The most interesting thing happened that during it was a pump handle slam into a backbreaker. I thought that was a very interesting move. I haven't really seen anything like that before, so it was really, that was kind of cool. I kind of hope he implements that into his regular wrestling technique now, because he's a very straightforward, I'm going to hurt you by hitting you guy. So yeah, that was pretty exciting seeing him use that new move. From that point forward, the match really slowed down. It was very much a controlling pace from Team Authority. J&J kept the lookout on the outside of the ring, kind of kept the other corner in check. Nobody really tagged in with Rowan from that point. It was basically a bunch of quick tags back and forth with Rollins, Kane, and Big Show. The match started to kind of ramp up near the end of it when Ryback got in. He kind of, he brought the pace. He started, picking up things, clearing the ring. It was getting kind of good. It was getting kind of good. He even did a move where Rollins climbed on top of the top rope and was trying to attempt to dive onto Ryback. Ryback caught him mid-air into a standing vertical suplex and then turned it into a shell shock and delivered it. Really impressive strength. That was actually another really cool thing that happened in the match. Because like I said, the match itself was pretty boring up to that point. Ryback eventually tagged back in Ziggler. Ziggler started trying to, take control of stuff. He delivered a couple moves. He had Kane in the corner and started delivering his signature 10 count punch series. It was at this point that the Big Show from outside of the ring ran over to the corner and delivered a jumping knockout punch to Ziggler. He then fell to the mat. Kane went down, pinned him, got the 10 count. The match pretty much ended exactly the way I figured it would. All three guys were then, down and out, beat up, and Rollins began to, dispense with the curb stomps on everybody. And like I said, it pretty much ended the way I figured it was going to. I really wanted to see the good guys win. Maybe it would end that storyline a little bit more, but that's the way that ended. However, at the end of the match, as they were all starting to get their heads caved in, Randy Orton came down. That excited me and the crowd a lot. Why? Well, because he's one of the top players. He's one of the bigger names. And it's nice to have him back in the hunt for stuff going on in the WWE. With him being gone on his little movie tirade, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on with the bigger names. It was very much, Cena and Lesnar and them. And Rollins really hasn't done anything with Money in the Bank. So it was cool to see Randy Orton back. So now we'll see how he's going to do stuff from this point forward. Next match was Goldust versus Stardust. This is another storyline that's not really super interesting. I'm kind of hoping they're taking it as time to develop Stardust's character, or maybe at some point they'll be able to kill off Stardust and bring back Cody Rhodes, or something interesting. But again, this was a match I really wasn't into, and the crowd wasn't into it either. Neither men, when they came out, was there really a pop, which was really kind of surprising because, I mean, it's wrestlers. Everybody likes somebody, so it was very surprising to see little to no pop for either men coming out. And the start of the match, start of the match was really slow. They were more sizing each other up. I think it was more about grandstanding the other person or trying to show dominance, because a lot of it was just kind of quick slaps and then moving to the other corner and looking at the person. So again, the start of the match was pretty boring. Didn't really get interesting until the crowd started randomly chanting Cody, at which point Stardust started to get very distracted and upset, and he started to become more erratic and attacking Goldust. Stardust capitalized eventually when he did a quick rib move on Goldust. He kind of focused on his ribs from that point forward. It was a very boring match. I really don't have anything interesting to say. Goldust ended up countering Stardust's finisher and got him into a roll-up. At this point, it seemed like there was a botched 3 count. Even the commentators noted it afterwards. It definitely looked like either the match was supposed to end, but he didn't hit the 3 count. The referee, that is, didn't hit 1, 2, 3 properly. Or the match was called. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It just did not look like a natural ending. Even the two, Stardust and Goldust looked a little bit confused. It didn't really look like it was a proper ending. So I don't really understand what happened there. The only thing interesting that happened afterwards is there was an altercation in the back after the match where Stardust attacked Goldust and then confronted his father, Dusty Rhodes, and basically said that he was Stardust now because, he had been killed off as Cody Rhodes because he'd been forced to work with his brother Goldust, who is this ancient relic from the Attitude Era. And, he wasn't allowed to be himself. He was constantly being forced to be something else. So that's why he went with Stardust. And now he no longer associates with, Cody Rhodes anymore because now he is Stardust. Made it a little bit more interesting. Put a little bit of polish on the story. Maybe they can do something with that going forward. I don't know. I'm really hoping they just break up the tag team. I really hope that's what that match did. Didn't do much as far as a match. Maybe it did help a little bit with the story. Next match was the Usos with Naomi coming down to ringside versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro with Natalya coming down to ringside. This was a match I really was looking forward to. I know how the Usos are the tag team of the year for last year, and they're really hyped and everybody loves them. I'm not a huge Uso fan. So I kind of almost look at the Usos as the standard bearer, where they are kind of, if you beat them, then you've kind of established yourself as a dominant team. I've really liked what Tyson Kidd and Cesaro have been doing recently. I was really surprised that the two of them would be a decent team, so again, that's why I was really looking forward to this match. But yeah, I started getting a lot of lag, and it was really irritating. But once it, started buffering better, and the match started. But I caught it a little late. It kept jumping forward. It started off slow, which was very surprising, I thought, especially since it started with Tyson Kidd, and I believe it was Jey Uso? Let me say, no, it was Jimmy Uso, my bad. Jimmy and Kidd started. But, the two Usos were tagging back and forth real quick, very standard stuff for them. And it really wasn't, until later in the match that, Kidd and Cesaro finally started getting some tags back and forth really quick. And one of the cool things that they did that, they do a lot of really interesting things as a tag team, which is why I think they're one of the better teams to watch right now. And he just had them in a one-legged swing into a single-leg Boston Crab. I thought that was pretty cool. There's another move coming up that was a little more interesting than that, but, it's cool. I'll talk about it in a second. When Jey finally got tagged back in, it started going the Usos' way. They were, doing the high-risk moves, the high-flying, the diving out of the ring, standard Uso stuff. Cesaro eventually countered a splash by Jey by hitting the ropes. He was on the top rope, hit the ropes, he fell, hit his nuts, typical, falling off the ropes style. Cesaro then suplexed Jey into the ring. Cesaro was on the inside of the ring, Jey was on the outside. Took him over the ropes, slammed him. Kidd did a diving elbow drop onto him. That was the move that I thought was cool, because it's just that tag team, the mentality of the two guys working together to be able to do those moves. So I thought that was really, really cool. Jimmy got tagged in again. He's going to do a splash. Tyson Kidd countered with his knees and put him into the sharpshooter. Thought that was going to be the match. Jay came in, kicked Tyson Kidd in the head, got him out of the sharpshooter. Went back and forth a little bit more. But then Kidd eventually landed his... I don't know what his finisher is called. I haven't been able to find any information on that. But he does this, like, swinging neckbreaker slam type of move, which is, it's pretty cool. It's a little different. But he was able to land that, and he won the tag team championship. I'm glad that there are new tag champs. They fought really hard for it, and I thought they've been working really well together to get to that point. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the future. So, the next part wasn't a match, it was just a segment. The segment was the Triple H Sting face-to-face. This was definitely one of my more anticipated moments of the pay-per-view. I was hoping for a fight. I should have known that there wasn't going to be one. It played out pretty much as I expected. Triple H came down to the ring, dressed in not wrestling attire, but kind of street fighting attire. He came down to the ring and he called Sting out. When Sting finally came out, he just belittled him and told him how, he could either make him a great star by, promising to always have all of his, DVD sales and Sting promotion and everything on the WWE network, or Sting could go the other route and fight him and he would basically obliterate him and delete him from history and his WCW legacy would be gone. And Sting just stood there silently. Eventually, Sting just kind of tried to, intimidate him a little bit. Triple H finally just decided to start punching him. He got the first few licks on him. Triple H left the ring and got the sledgehammer. Big shock. Comes back to the ring with the sledgehammer. Sting is standing back up with his bat placed at Triple H's neck, backs him into the corner. Triple H immediately drops the sledgehammer out of the ring. Sting keeps the bat on his neck for a moment, then slowly turns his head with the bat, pointing to the Wrestlemania sign. That was the expectation I had, that this was basically just saying, hey, you want to fight me? Fine. Let's do Legacy versus Legacy, WCW versus WWE. We're going to do it at WrestleMania. And that's what happened. It's, there's not really much else to say. Sting went to leave the ring. Triple H went after him again. Sting nailed him with the bat, hit him with the Scorpion Death Drop. That was the segment. All I can really hope from this segment is they're going to build on the storyline a little bit more. It's something that's been working since Survivor Series. I think this was a good move. Kept it short, kept it simple. What I'm hoping is that this match will either be a Hell in a Cell match or will be a no disqualification match. Because if it's just a regular match, I guess I could see from the purist standpoint of how good that match would be. But I'm really hoping that this match will just be something really epic and over the top like that. So it's something to look forward to, and I want to say thank you to the writers there for creating and scripting a really great scene with two performers that pulled it off really, really well. Next match was for the Divas Championship between Paige and Nikki Bella. I really wanted Paige to win this match simply because I'm sick of Nikki Bella. I don't think she's that great of a wrestling diva. There's better out there. I think Natalya, Paige, and Naomi, those are my three top divas. I think they are the three most talented. I didn't include AJ Lee because she hasn't been around for a while. I don't know what's going on with her. I would definitely include her in that list as well. But a lot of the other ones are just kind of pretty to look at. And I think that's where Nikki Bella kind of falls in. She's a lot stronger than a lot of the other divas, and I think she expresses that well. But it's not, that great. Anyways, back to the point of the match, getting my point of the divas I like and what happened. The match was short, which kind of sucked and was also kind of thankful for at the same time. Paige, tried to dominate. She did pretty well. She got Nikki in the Paige tap out, the PTO. Nikki was able to strengthen her way to the ropes and get out of it a couple times. So, I thought maybe Paige had been wearing down on her. Nikki, unfortunately, she did something in the car. I can't remember exactly what it was, but when she escaped from the PTO again, she was able to roll Paige up into a schoolboy. She grabbed hold of the tights, and she kept her championship. I don't know. I was looking for a better match. I don't know if they were time constrained or what happened, but it felt very short, and that match was definitely very empty. And again, with Paige not winning, I was depressed. So next time, Paige, maybe at WrestleMania you'll get another shot. So next match was Dean Ambrose versus Bad News Barrett. Again, this was another match I was kind of looking forward to. I felt it was kind of quickly done, the storyline for setting them up, so I felt like the storyline was more aiming for WrestleMania, and that's kind of how the match played out. It started out a little slow. Both were kind of battling back and forth for dominance the whole match. They kept delivering some high-impact moves. Ambrose delivered a nice corner DDT that was really powerful. B&B laid out a nice wasteland. There was some good moves by the two of them to really just kind of hammer on each other. It wasn't until the latter half of the match where Ambrose set up one of his rebound clotheslines from the rope. He came back, clothesline him. B&B started to try and exit the arena and get out of the ring and run away, and Ambrose kept bringing him back to the ring and bringing him back to the ring. And he eventually got frustrated and kept B&B in one of the corners, where he just started beating the tar out of him. The referee warned him. He started the 5 count. By the end of the 5 count, he had disqualified Dean Ambrose. It was kind of disappointing. I was glad B&B kept his belt. I'm a bigger Barrett fan than I am Ambrose, so I'm glad he kept his championship. I'm glad he's back from injury and keeping his belt. Like they took Bryan's belt and he hasn't been able to get it back yet, but Barrett, they basically handed it to him on a silver platter, which I was okay with. I like him as the Intercontinental Champion. Anyways, after that, he gets disqualified. Barrett's the winner. Ambrose delivers Dirty Deeds, then takes the Intercontinental Championship belt with him and leaves. So Ambrose has the belt. Barrett's still a champion. I haven't watched Raw yet to see what the follow-up is, so I'm curious to see how they're going to develop the storyline. I figure it's going to be for an IC title match at WrestleMania. So I'm looking forward to that, the continuation of that. Next part was another segment. My wife and I got really super excited during this point. The lights in the house dropped. The Undertaker bell tolled. It was purple. There was lightning. And then the Druids came out with the torches. It was very exciting because, my wife and I were both like, okay, here's an Undertaker announcement for WrestleMania. It's been very quiet. So here comes a big announcement for the Undertaker about what's going on. A couple of Druids came out with a casket and started rolling it down towards the ring. At this point, I was honestly hoping that it was going to be Bray Wyatt. My wife was hoping it was going to be The Undertaker. Triple H is her favorite, second being The Undertaker. I really like Bray Wyatt. I've been, predicting this whole Bray Wyatt Undertaker match at home for a while. And when they finally brought the casket down and they opened it up and Bray Wyatt shot up out of it and started calling out The Undertaker, I was excited. I was really happy to see that. There's not a lot of guys, unlike Brock Lesnar last year, kind of called him out and whipped his ass. It happened. It sucked, but it happened. But I'm very excited to see kind of the modern take of The Undertaker, which I feel is Bray Wyatt. It's very much that supernatural, I'm kind of evil, kind of crazy type of thing going on. So I'm kind of looking forward to almost like a passing of the torch type of match where The Undertaker's going to wrestle Bray Wyatt. If he doesn't, I'll be shocked. But, he called him out. If he doesn't call him out and fight now, it's going to be very surprising, very strange. But, again, I'm hoping it's going to be one of those passing of the torch matches where he kind of is set up now as, the new Undertaker. Which is kind of, that's going to be a very large pair of shoes to fit. I think he has the talent and the ability to do it. It's just going to see, what happens from WrestleMania. I'm curious how that's going to work out. But I thought this segment was incredibly well done. I had goosebumps thinking The Undertaker was going to come out. But then like I said, my hope was fulfilled when Bray Wyatt shot out of the casket. So it was cool. I'm glad it's official now. And I'm looking forward to that. So again, thank you, scripters, for that well-delivered segment. Next match was Rusev, the United States Champion, versus John Cena. This, honestly, I was hoping was going to be the match that Rusev finally lost. Uh, I think Rusev is a great athlete. I think he has a lot of great performing skill. I don't think he's a great character. I don't really like guys that don't really speak on the mic. So I'm really kind of annoyed with the whole Lana manager thing. Maybe he doesn't have strong mic skills and that's why they do it. But I was really hoping that this was going to be the match where he gets laid out. And the match itself was pretty well done. Cena being a top tier guy, I wanted to see him, win the belt and have a belt because I feel Cena does deserve a belt. Anyways, the match. It started off slow. It started with the whole "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chant, which kind of put Cena off his game, it looked like, because the whole preface of this match was Rusev saying that, he's past his prime and he's going to finish him and retire him. So the whole chant actually, instead of it just being the thing that drives John Cena, it actually looked like it had a psychological effect on him for a change. So that was kind of interesting to see. From that point, Rusev took control after Cena's quick bursts. He delivered a real strong right that knocked him down, and he was able to capitalize on that for a little bit. But from that point, Rusev really just stayed on him by delivering a lot of kicks, suplexes, and clotheslines. Cena tried an AA to try and get things going, but it was actually countered by Rusev into a hard DDT, and he really planted Cena with it. So it was really cool to see Rusev actually developing and wrestling really well with one of the top tier guys instead of the lower tier guys. Which, I kind of think they were trying to do a Sheamus storyline, and then he got hurt, so that was kind of a top tier guy. So I think the next best thing is putting him with somebody like Cena, who is going to be able to take you to that next level. But anyways, from that point when he got laid out, Rusev's again, another essential point and click wrestler. He's going to keep working on the same thing, very methodical, very slowly. Cena finally got back into it by, he laid him out with the shoulder tackles and the 5-knuckle shuffle. But, he did do something different in this match. He was actually able to deliver a tornado DDT from the top rope, which was really, really cool. I have not really seen him do anything like that. The most he really does from the top is his standing leg drop. He doesn't do a lot of diving or springing over the ropes. So to see him deliver a different move like that was good. It was good to see Cena do something different. At that point, after he delivered that, he was able to get him into the STF, although it looked a lot more like the Yes Lock or the Crippler Crossface than it looked like his standard STF. Of course, Rusev powered out and the match kept going. Probably the best thing about that match was the fact that these guys are both really tough, and it was cool to see both these guys just take a pounding from one another and keep going. So it added a lot of credit to Rusev for him being able to take all of that from Cena. He even ended up taking an AA and kicking out of the AA, which, at this point was, just ridiculous to Cena, because he's now literally given him everything he has. But he kept trying, But Rusev eventually capitalized and took it. Cena went for his diving leg drop, which, didn't work out. It did not work out. Rusev actually caught him mid, dive and powerbombed him. Really powerful looking powerbomb too. He then turned it into the Accolade. He had Cena laid out. Cena was actually able to power up and get to his feet, but when he got off his shoulders and tried to get down, Rusev delivered a devastating low blow kick, which looks like it's what made Cena pass out. He immediately got on top of him, delivered the Accolade again, and the ref called for the end of the match because, Cena was unresponsive. So Rusev kept his belt. It was disappointing. The match was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Part of me was expecting it to be another one of those matches where, Rusev gets off a couple of super kicks and then gets him in the Accolade. He did that to Ziggler, he did it to Sheamus, he did it to just about everybody. So I'm glad they actually developed his wrestling, like in-ring wrestling, and it was a very interesting match to watch and not stale. But I figure this is going to transfer over to WrestleMania. There's probably going to be a Cena versus Rusev at WrestleMania, where I figure Rusev will probably finally lose. But my wife actually discussed with me where there's a possibility where it could actually be a triple threat match with the return of Sheamus shortly. I'm sure the man's going to want his belt back. So there's a possibility of him coming back, enacting his rematch clause, and they might make it a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Or they might just make it straight up Sheamus versus Rusev. And I would be fine if it was the world's shortest U.S. title match by him delivering a bro kick and ending the match and taking the belt back. Then there was the main event for the night being Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. There was, in my opinion, a pretty clear choice by the WWE Universe who they wanted to win, and that was Daniel Bryan. I also was on that same side. I wanted Daniel Bryan to win this match. I wanted him to see him get his shot at WrestleMania. I wanted to see him have that chance to get his belt back. You know, he hasn't enacted the rematch clause. I guess he doesn't really have one because the belt was stripped from him. So who knows when he'll get it again? I don't know. So for me, I was really hoping that Daniel Bryan was going to win this match. I understood the purpose of the match though. It is kind of to try and put that push on Reigns that he is ready to be top tier, that he is ready to, you know, be the new face or one of the younger guys to really get up there because, you know, if you looked at people like Orton and Cena, they've been around for a long time. So they do need some younger guys and that young blood to start really taking control and being the new face of the company. So I understand the premise of why they're pushing Roman Reigns so hard, because he had a good, you know, fan push behind him leading up to this point. Royal Rumble was kind of a catastrophe in my opinion. I kind of see, you really saw what the WWE thought of Roman Reigns at that point. A lot of them don't think he's ready. I think this match was to help prepare him for that and, you know, what comes after. It was a mixed cheer for both guys when they came out, which was kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot more boos for Roman Reigns when he came out, but it was a pretty good pop for him. Daniel Bryan, again, always has a good pop, fan favorite, everybody's behind him. But there was actually quite a few people doing no chants. You could kind of hear it, and you could see the few people in the crowd just going, no, no. So, you know, there were people that are clearly finally starting to get behind Roman Reigns, which, you know, usually when Bryan comes out, it's every single person in the place doing the yes chant. So, you know, that was interesting to see that. The match started really slow. Both guys were just kind of doing quick grapples, quick holds, quick strikes, which was kind of surprising because both of them are kind of, you know, just go from the right, you know, when the bell rings. So it was interesting to see them, you know, kind of like measuring each other out and taking the time to figure out what their strategy might be. The crowd cheering back and forth was interesting. You know, they were chanting Roman Reigns and then chanting Daniel Bryan. So, you know, it was a real mix. It was a real mix at that point still. It continued to be evenly matched for a majority of the beginning. Reigns began to take control after a strong sidewalk slam and dumping Bryan outside. He kind of just started hammering on him from that point. Bryan was able to eventually counter back a little bit. He was started kicking at Roman Reigns' legs, and he focused on those for a while, tried to slow down his mobility because if he can't run, he can't deliver the spear, he can't jump to deliver the Superman punch. So it made sense for him to go after his legs, you know, especially with the height and the strength difference. That was good for Daniel Bryan to start aiming for the legs. Roman Reigns eventually broke out of a leg lock at one point, and he started to make his comeback again. He countered, you know, some good moves. Bryan tried to counter back and get his movement going again, but Reigns was able to just shut him down with just powerful clotheslines left and right. He delivered a significant amount of clotheslines to Daniel Bryan, which is a pretty good move, with his, coming back with the neck shoulder injury. So it's a good place to focus on your opponent if that's what's going on, by just delivering clotheslines over and over again. Reigns went to deliver a Superman punch, and Bryan was able to counter that with a kick right in his midsection. They kept saying it was like a devastating blow to his liver. The wife and I looked at each other and thought maybe he had done something, like kicked him hard in the intestines, where he just had that like hernia / intestinal torsion he had. So, maybe he irritated that. Maybe it wasn't healed all the way. So the match slowed down, but was going Daniel Bryan's way from that point, where he was able to just keep delivering kicks and kept him on the mat. But, Bryan, being who he is, got Reigns up onto the turnbuckle, and he went to deliver his the Frankensteiner. Reigns countered that by delivering a vicious top rope powerbomb. Very, very well done move. Looked absolutely devastating and painful. Both men were back and forth from that point. It really wasn't anybody taking over anybody. Bryan was able to get him into the yes lock a couple of times, but he wasn't able to, to get him tap or make him really commit to it. From that point, again, it was still just more back and forth. They were looking pretty worn down. I was really anticipating that Reigns would have charge of the match, but I'm glad to see that they actually had it back and forth. They let Daniel Bryan, kind of spotlight in the match to really, kind of be that modern day torchbearer to some extent to Roman Reigns. But both guys, they've used their finishers. They were just delivering everything they could. Bryan countered a spear with a roll-up pin. That was really cool. A lot of guys usually just end up taking the spear, but he was able to use his momentum to get him into a pin. Couldn't win it. Reigns kicked out after a running knee. That was another big thing where Daniel Bryan was like, I don't know what I have to do to win. It was, both men were reaching that frustration. But it was when Bryan had Reigns down in the corner and went for a second running knee, and Reigns immediately sprung out of the corner with a spear right in the middle of the ring and gets the 3 count. Surprising to me, the crowd was pretty behind it. There was a lot of cheers. There weren't nearly as many boos or dislikes of the match at that moment that I thought there was going to be. I thought there would be a lot more, especially with everybody going into that with the idea that they were hoping Daniel Bryan was going to win. The match, though, most of the fans were behind Bryan for most of the match, though. Like I said, he's a fan favorite. Everybody's glad to see him back. They want to see him get his chance. So I think they're really behind him. But at the end of the match, Bryan approached him and said, you've won. Now you better go to WrestleMania and kick his ass. And I think that's what everybody wants to see. I think people do want to see how Reigns is going to handle Lesnar. I personally think Lesnar should destroy Roman Reigns. If he beat The Undertaker last year and he's been able to stand up to Rollins and Cena since then, I don't see Roman Reigns being a challenge. They could prove me wrong. They could, script this out well and have a very well done fight. I don't know. Who knows? The pay-per-view, all in all, though, had a few highlights. There was a couple of cool moves done by some guys. The segments, I think, were the better parts. The Triple H Sting face-off and the Bray Wyatt segment. Most of the matches they kind of left me, I was glad with a couple of the turnouts, especially the Cesaro-Tyson Kidd match. I'm glad they're the new champs. For something being called Fastlane, it was a very slow-paced event. So, take that as what it is. But we do have everything laid out now going into WrestleMania. So, hopefully they're going to be able to build off of whatever momentum they were able to do with this. So, I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. I think this pay-per-view is definitely worth $9.99 for the network. Not worth any full price pay-per-view if you get it on cable. Definitely worth the $9.99. I'm looking forward to my $9.99 WrestleMania next month. So, if you want to see Fastlane on the network, I think, it was disappointing, but I recommend it for the segments if you want to fast forward through a lot of it. If not, it's definitely a pay-per-view you can skip. So, Until next time, this is Adam, signing off.